Hello, Pod Smashers of the Internet, and welcome to 2023!
Itty bit pot smashing. It's a new year. Something we forgot and rely on the grand old flag.
Welcome to another episode of 8-Bit Pod Smash, as so well sung by Penguin. We are where gaming goes to grab a beer.
Yes, we're your hosts, Penguin and Termite. If you didn't already mention that, I am Penguin.
I am Termite, and we are a weekly video game podcast, smashing together ideas that you care about with video games.
That's right, and this year we're just talking about the last year. It's the new year. We've turned the new year, new leaf. This episode is airing on the 2nd, so it's just barely the brand new year. And so we're going to look at this past year, or for us, the current year of 2022. And yeah, we'll talk all about it, and it'll be fun. So that's what we're talking about, 2022.
2022 in review.
If we have time, we'll talk about how the year was for our podcast, but we also got a lot. It's been a really busy year, despite it not being that, not that many high-profile games came out. It's still been a very busy year for gaming. So
it has been, yeah.
We'll talk all about it, and we'll talk a little bit about our years as well, our individual years in gaming. So our year in gaming. So yeah, that's what we'll do. But we first are where gaming goes to grab a beer. So what are you drinking tonight?
I picked up the Hardywood Brewing's gingerbread set, which has 21 different gingerbread stouts in it. And so this is one of those bottles from that set. You pre-order this thing back in September. It comes out in December. You got to drive over there and pick it up. And they have every variation you can get all in one pack. So you don't have to worry about chasing them all down. You just get them all. So this one is the Hardywood Apple Brandy Barrel Gingerbread Stout Blend, which is an ultra-decadent blend of imperial milk stout aged in apple brandy barrels with gingerbread spices and extra cinnamon. And there's a little bit of a tiny paragraph on the back here, so I'll go ahead and read that. Apple Brandy is making its return in this new Apple Brandy GBS blend. Matured in Laird's Apple Brandy barrels, our brewers have coalesced 20-month and 10-month aged imperial milk stout. We took that smooth mixture of full sweetness and depth and spiced with our all-favorite gingerbread flavors. Sit back and enjoy this beautiful barrel combination. And wow, is it something. Sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
So obviously the base gingerbread stout, aged in apple brandy barrel, conditioned, would add spices. I get all of that. When I poured it, it had the fizz of almost like a soda. So that shows that it has a light body. So but it's a milk stout. So it's really confusing. It's not nitro. So it is very creamy, but it has that carbonation like you would get from a soda kind of. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a knock on it. But yeah, lots of hints of apple, the apple brandy. You get that, plus the gingerbread stout spices. This is might be my favorite gingerbread blend yet.
Wow, that's saying something.
It's 13%, so I'll be having a good New Year's discussion by the end of this podcast. What do you got?
Very good. I have got. I've been eyeing this for a while now. I got a Bold Rock Imperial
cider. You got it. Yes, it's so good. I love it.
I like Bold Rock, and I like their base hard cider. And Macy, my wife, has been now that she's no longer nursing, that's one of the things she's been craving this whole fall is just hard cider.
Cider.
So we've been stocking up on it. Well, I was in charge of getting some drinks for. We had Christmas number 2 of 3 this weekend with my wife's mom's family, and I picked this up while I was out, and so I was in charge. But I knew my wife wanted cider. I knew others were bringing beer, so I was like, I'm gonna get something, but I kind of wanted to get something a little different from just the regular Bold Rock cider. And they were displaying this all up on the shelf, they were pushing it hard, and I'm like, you don't have to sell me on 8.2% alcohol cider. It's very good. It's that perfect kind of blend of what I like, strong boozy drinks, and what my wife likes, sweet. And it obfuscates the alcohol. It's not quite, again, it's a little stronger than she likes, but it's a good compromise drink. So
yeah, I think if anyone thinks that Bold Rock's base cider is a little too sweet for them, the Imperial cider is the way to go, just because it's not as sweet and it has a little bit more of a boozy taste, which is not bad.
Yeah,
so I love that. It was my favorite of the summer, the end of the summer, when I was craving fall, but it wasn't fall yet. Virginia's 17th summer. That's what I had.
Absolutely. So, yep, that's what we're drinking. So cool. Well, I guess, we could just jump right in. We should just jump right in since we have a lot of ground to cover. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into our topic but we're going to start with our DLC. So we're going to skip favorite things and we're going to go right into DLC. We're going to skip banter. We're going to skip talking about whatever is on our minds. And we're just going to go right into DLC because it's what you're here for. We're going to do DLC superlatives for 2022.
Which kind of is a big favorite thing.
It is. Oh yeah, I guess it is. It's like it's where favorite things in DLC meet, but it started as a DLC, so we call it a DLC. So DLC stands for downloadable content. It's a segment of our show where we just have like a conversation you wouldn't normally have about video games, but this is absolutely one you would have. But this is kind of like our game awards. This is stuff, and unless otherwise specified, you have to pick games from 2022. This is about 2022. But we do have one category, I think 1 or 2 categories that have games outside of that. So
I'm going to break the rules, with one category, but I think I'm good otherwise.
All right, cool. Well, then let's jump right into it. 2022 game with the best story.
Who goes first? How do we do this? You want me to go?
You go. You have yours all written down. I have to think about mine a bit.
Yeah, it's true. I had 2 to fight for this. They were both amazing. So but the winner, God of War Ragnarok.
Okay, what was the runner-up?
Runner-up was Horizon Forbidden West.
Oh, yeah.
And I have good reasons for each of them, but it would, just keep the conversation going. God of War Ragnarok, what do I love about the story? Excellent mixes of all kind of different themes woven in together. Good versus evil, fate versus free will, gray area, not everyone's bad versus good, motivations of people, but also individual character story arcs, all like woven together to tell a wonderful story and add some Norse mythology in there. And you have an incredible story. So, story of the year. God of War Ragnarok.
Go with Elden Ring on this one, not surprisingly, only because it may not be the best told story, but when you dig and when you go listen to the people who have done all the digging for you, the story it may be as good or better than Bloodborne's. Maybe not better than Bloodborne's, but it is so incredible. It's got everything you just listed except like more. It's all of the things you listed and then plus ultra. It's really, really good and complicated and fascinating with layers that just you peel back layers. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Elden Ring on this one, and it's not done, right? There's the DLC where there's more story that has yet to, and they'll hopefully like reveal more things about the rest of the story. So that's exciting. Yeah, Elden Ring. George R. R. Martin though, but like it was a collaboration with George R. R. Martin, and when you find out like what his involvement was he like wrote all of the like basic like kingdoms and all of their like major figures in history, and then Miyazaki came in and said cool, then the apocalypse happened and now they're all twisted and messed up. So it's that like beautiful like combination of 2 approaches to storytelling, and then that married together and made something even more incredible and also terrifyingly effed up. I love it. Cool. Our next category is best comedy. Now, this doesn't have to necessarily be like a comedy game, but it could be a game with the best like comedic moments. I'll start with this one because it came out of my head. It's disappointing that in a year where a brand new Borderlands game came out, two brand new Borderlands games came out, that neither of them are going to be my best. Although Tiny Tina's was pretty. I mean, Tiny Tina's almost made it due solely to the Broshin thing, but is the Broshin? It's not Broshin, was it?
You blow up the ocean.
The Notion, that's what it was. Yeah. Yes, the Notion. Yeah. No, but that moment was did bring it close. But Bayonetta 3 is going to be mine.
Oh, is there comedy in there? Yeah.
Is there comedy in Bayonetta 1 and 2? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I didn't know if you were being sarcastic or if it was just one of those moments where I was like, were you taking all of this at face value? Because it's not a game meant to take at face value. So cool. Yep, Bayonetta 3. It's going to be
all right.
Cracked up so many times.
And this is where I had to bend the rules a little bit, but you might allow it because the game that I want to cite here came out in October of 2021. So it kind of skirted its way in there. I never played it until this year. I got it for Christmas, but it's Guardians of the Galaxy. That was my pick.
I'll let you have it, only because I don't think you had played it by the time
I had come out. It was so totally all this year. I started it and finished it all in January of 2022.
Fair enough.
For me.
I'll give it to you.
A few months late. So Guardians of the Galaxy, absolutely hilarious. The whole like comedy banter between the party throughout every single mission was great, and I laughed a lot. Yeah.
Cool. Best multiplayer experience.
Oh, this is an easy one for me. Splatoon 3.
Oh, yeah.
I play it constantly. I've put like 60 hours into it, It's all multiplayer. I guess I did the single player mode, but that was probably like 10 hours tops. So I put 50 hours or so into the multiplayer. And what's cool is some people in my neighborhood were not really used to multiplayer online fast paced type games, and definitely had never played Splatoon 3. And now I am playing with my son, our neighbor and his son, and the four of us. And there's some other neighbors too and their kids, and we're all getting good. We're starting to know the maps and like the layouts and the weapon combinations, and we're like getting better at it, which makes it that much more fun. So best multiplayer experience. If you're looking for like a single, whoa, it was amazing. There's many of them like in Splatoon 3 that we have where it's like the specials were well timed and like we wiped out the enemy team and like came back in the last 10 seconds. Like we have a lot of those. So Splatoon 3, what do you got?
Oh man. So I probably spent more time. Probably the only game I really spent a lot of time like doing multiplayer this year in would have actually been Elden Ring, and it was fun what I did play of it. But I kind of wish they had gone further. So it disappointed me a little bit in the fact that they just didn't really. They had a chance to really make good, solid improvements, and they didn't really improve on their multiplayer formula with Elden Ring. What I have enjoyed greatly, even though I haven't gotten to put nearly as much time in it as I want to, V-Rising.
Oh yeah,
very fun. I'm sure it's fun to play single player, but it's so fun to play and just like build a vampire base together and also slaughter the local peasantry. So yep, that's gonna be my my best multiplayer. So
all right,
cool. All right, next one is the best jaw dropping moment or the best moment where you were just dazzled by what you saw. What was that?
I can't. It's too new. It's a complete spoiler. But there's a moment in God of War Ragnarok. And if you played it, you know it. That's all I can say. That was it. Like my jaw just hit the floor. I was like, I can't. What is happening right now? Big story moment, God of War Ragnarok, about 2/3 of the way through it.
Big story moments. So
big. Like, big reveal. 2/3 into the game.
Oh,
it changes everything.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, mine is God of War as well, but for a different reason and less of a spoiler and more of an emotional beat. I will just simply say it was the single moment in the story where it was surprisingly the single moment after a whole game full of this word. It was the only moment in the sequel where Kratos said boy. And I was like, because it was just crazy. The lead up to it and everything, and it was all kind of well done. So
yeah, good stuff.
I'll go with that. As my jaw dropping moment. There were some good ones in Elden Ring too, but best competitive multiplayer, if you have one. I don't know if I have one this year, so I'll think about it.
Mine's the same as before. Splatoon 3, by far. It's super fun and engaging and ridiculously addicting.
I don't think I have a competitive multiplayer game this year that I played.
Halo Infinite or anything?
Racking my brain.
That was last year, though.
That was last year, yeah. Yeah, I don't have one for this category.
I know you've been playing hours of Call of Duty. Like, you just, you never stop.
That's what I do these days. All right, best add-on, expansion, or DLC content?
I got nothing. I looked and looked and looked. Oh, I do have one, but I never actually got into it. I wanted to. So I'm just good. This is like Termites looking out over the year and saying, well, what is a really good pack? Because I haven't played them. And that's Returnal's Co-op and the Tower of Sisyphus. Two different things, but absolutely incredible way to completely change a game and add and inject a whole new way of playing. And I'm dying to play Returnal again in co-op. Like anytime anyone wants to play, if my life schedule allows me to do it, I'm dying to play that game again.
Right.
And doing it in co-op would be fun.
Yeah, I don't think I played anything with the new DLC this year either. Yeah, if it comes to me, it comes to me. But I'm blanking. Yeah. I don't think I played anything with DLC either. So it's been kind of a this is a tough year because stuff did come out, and then also I spent a lot of time playing D&D. So like that took away so much from my gaming time this year. All things like totaled up when you tally it all up. So
and the big games didn't really have DLC added to it. Like Tiny Tina had some, but
it's really
we didn't really care.
Oh gosh, the fact that the very first DLC they dropped that was part of that, like they were charging a premium price for it, and it was literally just like a new skin on the same endgame content was like nope. Sorry, Borderlands. Nope. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I did hear a lot of good things about the World Slayer expansion to Outriders World Slayer expansion. I also heard a lot of really good things about it, and it looked really intriguing. If I had the desire, and if I had people to play it with, and if I had I think that when it came out, it was a bit low on funds. If I was saving up for something else, so I was like, it was one that had caught my eye enough that I probably would have grabbed it. It probably wouldn't.
Does it actually cost money to get the extra content?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, best music.
And this is another one of the categories I have to cheat and pull from a previous year because it overtook my entire summer, and that was Persona 4 by far. Because I'm way late to that game.
No. You don't get it. From this year. Best music from this. Persona 4 is such an old game. Nope, that music is old.
Come on.
And it's beautiful, but no, you pick a different game.
Oh,
God of War. That's an easy one. God of War has incredible music. Bear McCreary.
I know it did. It has great music. So does Horizon Forbidden West. But I'm going to go with this one, this pick. And you're really going to hate me because I'm still cheating, but not really. And that is The Last of Us Part 1. Nope. Not The Last of Us that came out in PS3. The Last of Us Part 1.
Did the music change?
I don't know. I don't care. It came out this year.
Then you're nope. Cheater. That's not how this works.
Game came out in 2022.
That music was written in 2014. All right, I'm going to pick for you.
Like 2012.
His favorite is God of War. My favorite, on the other hand, is... Oh, wait, did this game come out this year? Because I'll be really embarrassed.
Oh, I'm hilarious. No, you should just say it, and then we'll determine whether it's this year or not.
Yeah.
Jerk.
No, because you know that your game's... Oh, crap. Yeah. I was going to say Death's Door, but that came out last year.
Good.
So if I
you
had
can't come up with one this year either.
No, I can, because it's going to be Bayonetta 3. That would be my second pick.
Because
it's good, but there's... I don't know if you've gotten far enough in it, but there's a moment in Bayonetta 3 that has a song...
chapter 1.
That I've been playing on repeat. Okay, then you haven't gotten this far, but there's a thing that happens several chapters in near the. It's kind of like past the midpoint, but not quite the end yet. And there's this song that like literally I could not get out of my. I still can't. I love that song. It's still in my head. It's amazing. So.
Yeah, you wouldn't let me pick any other previous year's games, but Bayonetta 1 and 2, I played those both this year.
Yeah,
and they have amazing
you can't
soundtracks.
Pick them either, and they do have amazing soundtracks. Yep. Listen, you have to understand my reasoning here. If I let you have Guardians of the Galaxy because it was close enough, but now you're sitting there being like, pulling games decades old.
But I looked at my list, and I was like, none of those had memorable music, and
God
nor did I look up...
God of War has great music.
You know how I determine my best music is do I listen to it on Spotify not playing the game?
Did you listen to the Blood on the Snow after the Game Awards? Because I certainly did.
I did not.
Okay, well,
but I listened to Persona 4 on repeat for like 2 months after I finished that game.
You just have bad taste, I guess. No, I'm kidding. All right. Next is closest to a work of art.
Stray. I played Stray.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that is solidly a work of art. Not even a closest to work of art, but absolutely is. Yeah.
From this year, I'm gonna have to say, for me, it's a 3-way tie. Well, no, it's a 2-way tie between Elden Ring and what was the other game?
Well, you went from a 3-way to a solo act, so I don't know how you do that.
I did. I think it's because I kept forgetting which years these games were from. So yeah, I guess it's Elden Ring.
All right,
I was gonna
say
had
really good art too.
But
yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say Death's Door. I was gonna say Rhyme, and then I realized neither.
That's old too. Yeah.
Came out this year. Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll see. Cool. I played a lot of games from previous years. It's gonna tell you a lot. So cool. Best disaster/flop.
Does this have to be something I played or just something that did flop?
No. Something that flopped. Something that
we're probably going to agree then. This is obviously Babylon's Fall, right?
Oh my gosh, yes! Absolute disaster. Oh my gosh, yes. I forgot about that game.
Right? That's telling.
For as excited as I was about that game.
Well, Platinum Games had no reason to have a flop, but there we are.
The minute they announced it was like a live service MMO light thing, I was like, okay.
You're like, what the crap?
Yeah, no, why? Why? So, cool. All right,
what did you have prior to that?
Oh, no. That's the one.
Okay. All right.
I didn't actually have one yet, but as soon as you said it, I was like, I knew that's the one. So I was going to have to think about that one for a second.
Yeah.
Greediest Goblin, the company that made the or the game or the developer that made the greediest decisions, clearly based and motivated solely on money and nothing else.
This is another obvious answer, and that's Diablo Immortal.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was like immediately lambasted for its monetization practices the week it came out.
Yeah. I was going to say Halo came out at the end of last year, but they really ratcheted up. Microsoft really ratcheted up the greed in 2022, to my understanding.
And then they kind of reneged on it, and being renegotiated with the last 2 updates. They had a huge fall update, and then they had a winter update, both of which added a mess ton of free content, including opening up all of the armor. Mm-hmm. All of the armor you can now get. That was like super, super locked behind paywalls. Right. Now you can get them all, and you don't have to you just have them. So I have the samurai armor now. Sorry, anyone who spent however much money and hours grinding
or
to get it.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's a couple of just like bigger picture, less tied to specific games, but like if you factor in like Activision Blizzard like actively lobbying against their employees unionizing, like that's a pretty greedy move. You know what I mean? Like, there have definitely been arguments to make about Sony's greed this year. We had a whole episode on it. On top of that, one could say that the Activision Blizzard and the Microsoft purchase of Activision Blizzard has been bringing out the greed on all parties, except for maybe Nintendo. Nintendo's sitting there being like, we're just going to sit here and let the shots fire back and forth. But, some could say Microsoft's greedy in the purchase in the first place. You could say Sony has been greedy in trying to block them, like, rabidly. Like, no more is this whole, like, no more are, like, Sean Layden and Phil Spencer and Reggie Fils-Aimé getting up on stage and saying we have to work together. Now it's so very clear that we're at each other's throats, because as soon as someone does something that if we believe is going to be existentially threatening to our business, then our true colors come out, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, all things considered, there's been a lot of fairly greedy decisions in the gaming industry this year. It's hard to pick one.
Lots.
So we'll get more to that, of course. I guess that leads that does transition nicely into the craziest industry happening, and once again, there's a lot to choose from.
So much happened.
Video game unions are now a thing. That's pretty crazy. Like, that's exciting crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I mean, I feel like
there's only one answer here.
I feel like our answer's the same, right?
It's a $70 billion acquisition.
That's
the craziest.
And as I just mentioned, it literally changed people's attitudes overnight.
Yep.
On everything.
I heard an interesting perspective. I'll inject this real quick. If you think it's too long, you can cut it. But have you heard the idea of like Amazon coming in and dictating the market prices of goods and saying like, well, I'm going to sell the same thing everyone else does, but slightly cheaper, so everyone comes to me.
Yeah, but like everyone's been doing that since. I mean, that's what Walmart did too, right? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, Walmart did that to mom and pop shops. I never realized it or put it into perspective until Colin Moriarty did about Microsoft's first Game Pass, just in general, its existence from like 2 or 3 years ago, but now the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, of like in gaming industry. Period. They are now like cheapening the value of games by just making it so accessible and so consumer friendly that they're like dictating the market price, and they're going to kind of price everyone out. And I never looked at it that way. Like global, like
I mean that's
across all gaming.
That's the fear, right?
Yeah, I thought it was
exactly
crazy.
What. Yeah,
Yep, exactly. That's the craziest thing that's happened in gaming this year. So I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can't agree with you, or I can't disagree with you. That's just been huge, right? It's been all anyone. It's been constant, right? Every week, and sometimes every day. New articles, my news feed, Reddit talks about it. So, I mean, Blizzard just can't get themselves out of the news cycle. Activision Blizzard, for better or for worse, right? Mostly for worse. Or at least controversial. So, all right, cool. Best game you revisited from a previous year this year. So now we can talk about. Now you have permission to talk about and pick a game from a previous year. And if you pick a game from this year, then you're wrong. No, you can't do that.
I'll tell you why. I did, and this is hilarious. So I picked a game, specifically Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time, which came out in the 90s.
Yeah,
but the reason why I revisited this year is because it was part of the Cowabunga collection, which is brand new in 2022.
That's okay. I
Are you
understand.
sure? Are you going to be okay?
No, guess what? You argued your point well.
All right,
therefore I accept your argument. I am a fair dungeon master. If you can explain
and see, I think this is such a good one that it kind of cancels out my Last of Us Part 1 debacle earlier.
Okay, all right. Mm-hmm. You are at neutral. Yeah.
Yes.
You're at back to zero.
Then I'm gonna I'll be fine the rest of the way here.
You're not on my poop
on the way out. What do you got?
The best game that I revisited this year. Oh gosh, did I revisit any games this year? Yeah, I'll say Sekiro, Bloodborne. Yeah, those two I kind of revisited in the same like period of October. Again, I always enjoy my replay of Bloodborne every October. But this time it inspired me to also play some Sekiro, and I didn't play it for very long because it was like right there in October when like Bayonetta was about to drop. But I really enjoyed I enjoyed picking up Sekiro and finding out that I can parry. So cool.
Okay.
All right.
Now we're moving on to our next category, which is what you had started to answer earlier, and that is the best game from a previous year played for the first time.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for keeping me
It's fine.
on track because
I got your
my
back.
ADHD brain literally just replaces words sometimes. So, my answer for this, and you had just heard all this, but I now have to repeat it.
Three-way
It's
tie.
a toss up between three. Yeah. So Death's Door, Rhyme, and Plague Tale Innocence. Death's Door is incredible. Like it's a top down, almost like Zelda like. But it's got like nice cell shaded graphics and it's beautiful music and just it's really fun, really enjoyable, and a fairly easy platinum. Though I just remembered after I had said that you do have to play through the entire game with the weakest weapon and never change as one of the trophies. And the weakest weapon is the umbrella, and it's actually pretty funny, but it's it could be tough at some points. So Rhyme, of course, made me cry almost multiple times. That game was nutso. And then Plague Tale Innocence is really good. Definitely glad that I played it before Requiem. And it is definitely not one recommendation time. It's definitely not one that you want to skip if you want to play Requiem because it was a Game of the Year nom. Like, play Innocence first, because otherwise I don't think it would make sense. So of those three, though, I think I'm going to say Death's Door is probably the one that gave me the most like moment to moment joy, though, because it was like Rhyme was really profound, but it was like a puzzle traversal game, and sometimes it was a little boring at points. And Plague Tale Innocence is a fairly old game, so it's kind of clunky. Death's Door came out just last year, and it's very smooth, very very good experience. So those are my answers. What's your answer?
I have one. It's a very clear, definitive answer. The best game from a previous year that I played in 2022 for the first time is The Pathless, which Annapurna published. It came out as a PS5 launch title, but it's also on different platforms, so it's not exclusive to PlayStation. Awesome, gorgeous art. It's an artsy game. It has a very simplistic archer style of combat where like aiming is kind of done for you, so it's a third-person shooter, but not really, because when you press the button to shoot, it auto-targets something. Yeah. But it's a puzzle platformer, so lots of jumping around and flying and exploring, kind of an open world, but more like open zone. 5 big areas to explore, and the story is told with like very little dialogue, more experiential, and the art style is cel-shaded, kind of like Rhyme, like you had mentioned.
Yeah.
But yeah, fantastic game.
I almost got that for you for our Christmas exchange last year.
Yeah, and it would have been great, because I loved it. It was awesome. So The Pathless, I recommend.
Lovely. All right. Yep. So the last one. Oh, okay. Yeah. So the last two here. Obviously, we'll get to the big one. But any honorable mentions? Any game that wasn't included in any of these that you played?
I'm not allowed to mention anything outside of 2022.
Correct.
Because you're keeping me locked in here. So I got four honorable mentions that were all like in contention for my game of the year. So,
okay.
But you'll notice an absent title that is my game of the year, so you might be able to deduce that, but we'll get there. So here we go. Honorable mentions. Horizon Forbidden West. Great game. I love one aspect of this game that stood out to me more, and I just want to mention this, and I'll probably do the rest of mine really fast. But that is Aloy's interaction with the different tribes and their religious beliefs. When she knew the objective truth, these robots are engineered to be a thing, like we know the story, right? Aloy knows the story, but there's tribes that like worship these robots as gods. And obviously they're wrong. They're not gods. They're just machines created by humans for a certain purpose. Like once you know the truth, it kind of like removes the spirituality, but she honors and respects the cultural aspects and their spirituality as a tribe and interacts with them in such a way that doesn't violate that. And it's amazing to see. I love that aspect. And that's why it's on here. And it was almost in contention for best story because of that reason. Then we're going to go on. Okay. Honorable mention number 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Fantastic new entry. Brand new arcade game. Absolutely amazing. Go play it. Of course, The Last of Us Part 1 Remake was the only game in 2022 that made me cry, or start to, like, tear up at one moment, which did not hit me in 2013 when it first came out as it did now. So that's mentioning that. And then the last honorable mention I have is Pokemon Scarlet. Despite the ridiculousness of the technical flaws when it came out, the game is amazing. Great new direction for Pokemon, an absolutely phenomenal game to play, and it engaged me and hooked me in a way I never saw coming, given the reviews. There you go. There's my honorable mentions. What
There
do you got?
go. I did also enjoy Arceus and I enjoyed Tiny Tina for what it's worth, right? So I mentioned it as a game that didn't really win anything for me, but it was a nice little break in the typical
Post Elden Ring.
Yeah, well, the typical Borderlands experience, yeah. So, and it was definitely one that was
gotcha.
like, yes, this broke me out. It did. I'll give it this. It was the game that like broke me out of what could have been just an endless spiral of only ever playing Elden Ring for the rest of my life. So I was like, oh yeah, there are other games I enjoy, and that was Tiny Tina. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I mentioned V Rising, and it is worth re-mentioning again, just like how surprising I think that game was for everybody. And I wish I had played it more when it first came out. So cool. All right. Our last one is Game of the Year. What's your Game of the Year?
Our own personal Game of the Year. You know what mine is?
Yeah.
I beg to differ. You don't have a clue.
Oh, okay. All right. Fine.
My Termite's personal Game of the Year?
It better be from 2022.
It is. Oh, it is. You ready for this? You're going to cheer a little bit. It's Elden Ring. No. My own personal Game of the Year is Elden Ring.
Really?
It really is.
All right. Okay.
I had to do some
explain.
I had to do some introspective reflection. As I was playing God of War Ragnarok, which is what I thought was going to be my Game of the Year, as I was playing it, I was like, this is really, really good. It's really good. God of War, of course, right? But there's something missing. Elden Ring had it. And it is this desire to continue to play, even after 50, 60 hours clocks by. But in the moment when it had come out, the zeitgeist around it was so alluring. It was like, if I wasn't playing it, I felt like the entire world was, and they were moving past me. But I mean that in a good way. I don't mean that in like a FOMO way. Like, I want to be a part of this because it's worthy of it.
Yeah.
And so like, I wanted to continue to go explore these other areas. When I would read like small tweets of people that were like exploring or seeing something, and yet I may have like tried to mainline it. I got like an optimized build. I went out of my way to get like a more powerful staff and like did magic and like looked up a lot of things and like went through stuff. But there was just something about the magic of that game on the industry and on the community. And so like the game did 0 for me story-wise. I don't have a clue. I can't recall a single name other than Melania because of Monster. Thank you, the Muppets.
Yeah.
And so like I couldn't tell you a single thing that was going on in that world. I don't know.
Next time you're running, listen, pull up just pull it up on, you can listen to it. You don't have to like watch it to like follow along. Just watch VatiVidya. VatiVidya's Elden Ring Explained will give you the high level story, and you'll be surprised how coherent it is, despite how incoherent it's told in the game.
And that goes in, right? It's an incoherently told story that I didn't want to put the effort into like learn. But that wasn't the appeal. The appeal is the same appeal at its most, if you boil down to the most abstract level of appeal, Breath of the Wild had the same thing. And that was like everyone,
man. That's what I've been
everyone branched out and did their own. Yeah, they all did their own thing. You only you did your own story. You went your own path. You went your own direction, and there was no wrong way. And the stuff that I was doing in Elden Ring when comparing to other players was different, but it was so fascinating and fun to see what other players were doing, what they were exploring. And that was like 90% of my experience. And when I got to that last 10%, that was when I was like, okay, I've had the fun. I've done the thing. I'm going to move in now. I'm going to hone in. I got to get this platinum. I got to get it out of the way. There's more stuff coming. And so like the very end of the game, of course, like the last 10 hours after freaking Melania, was just like finish the game, get the platinum. But yeah, like I wasn't super into customizing the character build. Again, I looked that stuff up. So I was like, here's the build I'm going for. Here's the stats I need to have. Here's the gear. Here's the stat or the
and it's
the
all
weapons.
Changed and now.
No, sure. Yeah. It's been patched.
And
yeah. But in the moment, like that wasn't the appeal. But to some people it is. And I get it. And I respect it. The story, the character builds, the RPG, that start. But it really, for me, was just the interaction of the entire gaming industry. PT did the same thing. But look at how different PT is from Elden Ring, right?
PT
and Breath of the Wild,
and Elden Ring all did very similar things to just it's like, just a paradigm changing, right? Like the idea.
I learned something about me and my gaming taste was like that mattered, and that's kind of a meta. That's a more community like reception.
It has
thing.
less to do about the game and more to do about the experience you have with the engaging with the community on the game, and not just the community on the internet, but your more personal community as well. We'd share videos of the things we did or how close, or even our deaths. We would share tips like, hey, you can go here and you can do this. And we'd get online just to dupe souls, right? Like dupe the runes or whatever, right? Like we did. And it's all of it's fun. And finding, honestly, finding the bugs and the exploits. When we found the thing with the ball rolling down the hill, like that's
definitely did that through so many work meetings.
And we exactly just sat there. It's like, no, you're right. It's all part of it. And so, of course, to no surprise, it's also my game of the year. Of course, for me, it's also all the things you didn't care about. It's so now hopefully you can understand a little bit not my perspective on Souls-likes necessarily, but my perspective on this game in particular. You have one reason why it's your game of the year. I have like 20, right? Like it's so many. It was also, I wanted to say what game. If it was, I did have an answer. What's a game that you revisited this year from this year? And it's like right after Sekiro. What I failed to mention is while playing Sekiro, I was like, man, I just really want to play Elden Ring. And I fired up like another 2 weeks of Elden Ring before Bayonetta came out. So yeah.
Not surprised.
Yep. Not at all. So anyways, well then great. That's our super long DLC, 40 minutes into the show. Let's talk a little bit about this year in gaming. And we probably will not get a chance to talk about our podcast. That's okay.
Yep. We'll figure it out.
So let's talk about, okay, you want to hit, let's skip the list of games and just talk about let's do the trophy count. Just go straight to the trophy count.
Sure.
Because we talked a lot about all these games that we just. Yeah. So if you want it, we'll post. How about that? We'll post our platinums. Like we'll post the list of platinums.
Yeah. So somewhere. I have a list of games, 41 strong, that I have finished rolled credits on this year. And that doesn't mean games released this year. It's just every single game that I have played. That's what we're going to post. So you'll see Termite's list of 40-some games. You'll see Penguin's list of his platinums and his games that he has finished.
There's a lot of games that are from previous years. And again, we'll circle back around to that idea. I want to circle back around to the idea that there are a lot
now
of
is just the trophy count. And the reason why, like, if you're a new listener, you don't know what's going on, like why we care about trophies more than anything else. Both of our primary platforms are PlayStation. And so
I see, more than any other. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Like why are we going to talk about trophy counts? Like why is that a beat in our podcast? Well, our primary platform for playing games is PlayStation, and it is a fun way to like track our achievements, what we've done, what we've played, and all those things. So like if you don't know Termite's all about trophies, so here we go. In 2022, Termite achieved 1,097 trophies as of December 19th, 2022, the night we're recording this. I have many more trophies to get between now and the end of the year. So when you're listening to this podcast, listener, go check out my PSN profiles, Termite04, and you'll see the actual number posted. But for now, it's 1,097, and I have 24 platinums. So I've averaged 2 a month throughout the entire year. And I have thoroughly enjoyed every aspect of trophy hunting and gaming this year. It's been great. Do you want to read your own, or do you want me to read yours? Penguin.
No, I no, you go ahead and read mine.
Okay, so Penguin achieved 510 platinums. I mean, 510 trophies. Woof. If you did 510 platinums in 1 year, I'd be like,
I would be.
I'm done. Goodbye. Yeah. So 510 trophies and 11 platinums, averaging just under 1 platinum per month, which is still extraordinarily commendable. And obviously, you're dedicated to PlayStation.
Thank you
more
for
than
commending
other things.
Me, I suppose.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You're still in like the top, I don't know, 15, 20% of gamers, period.
Probably.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, then that is that. That's trophies for 2022. So let's talk about the happenings over the year and just like how the year has been, like what's changed in the industry or what's been like a big deal. How has the year been, right? For the industry and for the community.
Woo! Have we had a year? I've listed a whole bunch of kind of highlights of things, of big news beats that have happened this year, not including all of the minutia of the individual game announcements and the delays and all the things. Like, that's normal stuff. But here we go. The Embracer Group acquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
Embracer Group came in and just like took house. In fact, I have to look them up because there's so many acquisitions. List of mergers. Oh my. In February, March, April, May, and August. The big one was Square Enix Europe, where Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal all went to the Embracer Group, along with Tripwire Interactive, Tuxedo Labs, Middle-earth Enterprises, Limited Run Games, which is those are two big ones, like the entire Middle-earth IP, and Limited Run Games all went to the Embracer Group, along with some other things. But so that was a pretty big consolidation in the industry, followed, of course, by the Microsoft acquiring Blizzard, Activision, which is still right now the FTC is actively suing. Came out December 8th that the FTC is suing that acquisition. So and then Sony acquiring Bungie. And I say light because Bungie is still going to sort of be independently operated, but will make games exclusively for Sony. And then Haven Studios, which is Jade Raymond, previously of EA fame, new studio, also acquired by Sony. That's probably the biggest move Sony could have made this year, given the landscape of everything, minus Kojima or Square Enix itself. I think Sony acquiring Bungie is probably the best bet it could have. So it'll have exclusivity over Destiny, or at least exclusive monies over Destiny, regardless of where people are playing. A lot of layoffs and shutdowns in journalism. So G4, which was this amazing retro, I can't believe it's coming back. It didn't even last a year, which is super unfortunate for those who are involved in G4, who are producing content for G4 and roped into that content, but it shut down. And so everyone was left scrambling to find jobs. There were tons and tons of layoffs. Fanbyte was shut down entirely, I think, or mostly gutted. More layoffs at IGN. And other news industry outlets and people that I follow on Twitter and Twitch, and I care about their content and the things they create and the things they say about the gaming industry, and I follow a lot of that stuff, which is resources for the show. And so my knowledge comes from those sources, and to see them all floundering to make money in this capitalist environment, that happened. So things are happening. Sony completely upended their PlayStation Plus tier lineup and added 2 new tiers and made all these promises and set all these prices and subscription services to try and compete against Game Pass and the Nintendo Online expansion pass competition, of course. That was a big deal in the industry. So that's obviously Sony's reaction to the landscape of subscription services and kind of a new direction the gaming industry is headed about paying monthly for something and getting the thing, right? That's what battle passes, for lack of a better description, are kind of like that. When a new season comes out, you got to pay new money for the new battle pass. And so Halo and Call of Duty and all the things are doing that kind of monetization. They might as well be subscription services. It's just kind of ad hoc, but that's happening. Steam, the Steam Deck. Valve came out with hardware to compete directly with Sony on the Nintendo Switch, a handheld PC in your hand that can play Steam games. That was a big deal and kind of a proof of concept that we can have another handheld that competes against Nintendo, which have all failed in the past. The Vita, the PSP, anything anybody was doing, all failed against Game Boy, Nintendo DS, and 3DS. So Steam Deck is there. It's thriving. It's in high demand. They seem to be doing a smart, good job of scaling that appropriately to the demand and meeting that demand. So that's a big deal. And then, of course, the war in Ukraine, which is a huge deal for 2022 in general, but also it affected the gaming industry. I have a little Game Rant quote here that says, Ukraine-based studios, as well as worldwide studios with workers, remote or otherwise, who live in Ukraine, suffer the consequences of this insane war. The people of this industry and of Ukraine are obviously far more important than games, but this has seen games like Stalker suffer delays, games like Arma used as war propaganda, and meanwhile, game companies and gamers around the world have sought to aid those in Ukraine. CD Projekt Red, Humble Bundle, 11-Bit Studios, Bungie, Remedy, the Pokemon Company, Avalanche Studios Group, Epic Games, Kojima Productions, and many more have condemned Russia's war on Ukraine and made huge donations, hosted huge fundraisers. The impact on the people of this industry is palpable, from developers to gamers, and the impact on the world itself is more so. So, of course, that has shaped 2022's landscape. And then Elden Ring won Game of the Year at the Game Awards. So that's 2022, folks.
And
wrapped it all up in 5 minutes.
The Game Awards, a crazy stalker kid came up on stage. I mean, I feel like that's important to kind of casually mention. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about E3 not happening, right? It didn't happen again.
It didn't.
And this time there was not as good of a reason as last time.
Yeah, right.
The last couple times, right? So that was kind of indicative of things. And then also I wanted to talk about
But it's
the
back next
unions, the gaming unions.
But E3's back. E3's coming.
I got it. It's fine.
Okay.
But how
All right.
long does it last if it just drops some years?
We'll see what
right?
happens,
That's my point.
Okay, gotcha.
Unionization. But then also game unions are now a thing, and they started this year, in the United States. So
they did.
That's kind of a big deal. I would also say that it's kind of yet to be seen what effect this is going to have on anything in the gaming industry. But I think also Twitter's acquisition by Elon Musk.
Oh gosh,
so much of like announcements and community happens in that space, and now it's like decimated. It's completely like people are just leaving, abandoning ship left and right, and Musk is pushing that entire space in a like farther right direction. And
his latest,
it's a brute force. Last I saw is he polled to see if people wanted him to step down as CEO.
Yeah, and then voted yes. So
they did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what he does about that.
The idea that is there was a whole movement of getting people to say no to make him stay and deal with the consequences of his inadequate leadership.
Yeah.
But my impulse was to vote yes, of course, to get him out of there. And so like that was the cop out. So it's basically like saying Elon is looking for a cop out to get out of this horrible situation that he's in, because it's negatively impacting his Tesla stock. It's negatively impacting Twitter stock. So he's losing just tons of money in publicity right now. And so like the easy way out.
He should due to his own actions, but step out.
So it's his way out.
Absolutely.
And so
it's not a way out though, because he's still the majority. I mean, whether he's CEO or not, he's still the majority stockholder, and so he's still going to lose money, and he still owns the company, and that's going to negatively reflect on Twitter, right? So it's it's too late. You done messed up, Aaron. You messed up in the first place. He was trying to manipulate stock prices, and so he was like trying to short squeeze, right? Like, it's the same theory behind the whole like Donald Trump,
the GameStop thing,
where he was like, "Oh yeah, I ran for president in order to sell books, and then now I'm stuck as president." Then it got to his ego and became a different thing. But that's kind of feel like what's happened with Elon Musk, because he was like, haha, I'm going to play a stupid game. And he won a stupid prize. And now he regrets having the stupid prize, as he should, because he's lost, I think, worse than the money, worse than the stock tanking, worse than all of that, worse than not being the world's richest person anymore. I think more than anything else, the dude probably regrets most shattering the image people had of him. Because if you had even asked me last year what I thought of Elon Musk, he had cultivated this perception of being this like genius, tech genius or whatever, and now that's all gone. Now everyone sees how stupid he is. Sorry, complete tangent, but I think it was a big deal that happened this year. It was, and I think that it happened so late this year that we're not really going to see the true effects on the gaming industry until major companies stop advertising on Twitter, or major companies stop announcing stuff on Twitter, and I think that might happen next year. So
we'll see.
Cool. All right, 2022 year-to-date top games in the United States.
This is like game sales.
Yeah, game sales. So what sold best this year?
Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, of course.
List, except for
it came out in November. So within 1 month of this recording, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 outsold everything in the entire year in 1 month. So that's how big that is. Just putting that into perspective. Elden Ring sits in second place, which is amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that came out in February. So it's had the whole year, of course, to kind of cultivate. Madden NFL 23, which is a really bad spot for Madden, because Madden generally sells just as well as Call of Duty, or at least close. So Madden's in third. Fourth place, Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, which goes to show you the power of Lego and Disney and Star Wars and how crazy that is. Fifth place, God of War Ragnarok. Sixth place, Pokemon Legends Arceus. Seventh place, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Eighth place, Horizon Forbidden West. Ninth place, FIFA 23, which I've actually heard is kind of a mess right now. And then in 10th place, MLB The Show 22. And there's a caveat to that, but I don't know what that is. So that's the top 10 software sold this year to date. And again, that was published close to when we recorded, which is December 19th. So maybe that could be swayed by holiday shopping season, but Nintendo, of course, continuing to show up with two Pokemon entries. PlayStation dominating on the list with Horizon and God of War, and then some third-party stuff, which is the rest. So there you go. Best-selling hardware of 2022. Where are we at? The hardware console wars, right? The quote-unquote, like everyone wants to talk about that. What sold the best this year? Nintendo Switch.
Nintendo Switch.
It's still.
Didn't it sell? I was going to say, it's like 5 years in a row now. Yeah. It's just selling like hotcakes because it appeals to people. Not everybody wants to or can afford to get a PlayStation 5. But there are people out there who are, quote, non-gamers who will happily buy a Switch for themselves or others, right? Because it's just got that. It's the same. It's like the Wii. It's like you got to have one.
Right.
It's the hot tech, right? Whereas PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are more, for lack of a better term, niche interests. Maybe not niche. I can't say 11.26 million is anything I would describe as niche, but they're seen as more specialized interests, right? You get one when you're into games. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the Nintendo Switch has a $200 entry, which is the Switch Lite, ridiculously cheap. And the Xbox Series S is $250. So those are the two like lower end. But Nintendo still sells like hotcakes because it's Nintendo. So almost 16.5 million sold this year for a lifetime sales of 118.2 million units. So it outsold the PS4. And it's up there on the list. I haven't looked up the top console sales of all time, but Nintendo Switch is on the top 5. PlayStation 5 sold 11.26 million this year, making its lifetime sales 28.26 million. For sort of context and maybe a reference, I think the lifetime sales of the Wii U over 5 years was 13 million. So we're now past, there's 2 times as many PS5s in the wild as there are Wii U's. Like that's within 2 years instead of the 5-year cycle the Wii U had. And then the Xbox Series S and X combined sold 8.9 million units total with a lifetime sales unit of 20.26, only 8 million behind the PS5. So it's doing pretty well. Yeah, compared to the Xbox One, the PS4 comparison of the previous generation, the Xbox is it's holding its own over there. Game Pass is doing its thing. So there you go.
Good for them.
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, in what ways did this year excite or disappoint you? Ooh. So you can go first. What excited you and what disappointed you?
Yeah, it's just some highlights. I tried to go in order of the year, but I don't remember everything. This is a lot. A lot happened this year. So I'm going to go with a couple game announcements and then a couple things that happened. So the PlayStation VR 2 was shown off back in March. That was probably the first, outside of obviously the release of Horizon and Elden Ring that were taking things by storm and Tiny Tina's Wonderland. So gamers were fed. We were having a blast. In that context, something cool. PlayStation VR 2, the hardware was shown off for the first time, the new tech for what they were going to do, really revolutionizing the performance to price ratio if you already have a PS5. So if you just look at the unit compared to what the PSVR 1 was doing, this is a definite evolution, but a direct competitor to the more expensive VR headsets, the more nice, what's that word I'm looking for? Boutique VR experiences. And so that excited me. So then, of course, the Game Awards in 2022 was Jeff Keighley's best show ever. And that just happened 8 days ago, over a week ago. And so Game Awards 2022, look for our episode discussing the fun stuff that we talked about there. Star Wars Eclipse was announced for Quantic Dream and kind of not talked about since. It was one little blip on the radar.
It has, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And Quantic Dream, of course, made Beyond Two Souls, Heavy Rain, and Detroit Become Human. So I'm extraordinarily excited to see what kind of narrative story-driven game with dialogue choices and multiple storylines for Star Wars Eclipse. Knights of the Old Republic remake was announced. That's amazing and never talked about since. That was kind of a one-shot deal. Probably not going to see it till 2025 or 26. And of course, with the Game Awards was Ken Levine, the maker of BioShock, his newest game being Judas. So that was an amazing showing. Probably the most excitement trailer I had during the entire Game Awards, and my favorite thing to look forward to out of the Game Awards. And for whenever it comes out, 2024, who knows? There might be a release window, but I don't believe it. It's going to get delayed. So those are the things I'm excited about this year in gaming. What you got?
Yeah. So I was probably for just so much of that first part of the year, I was just chomping at the bit to get my hands on Elden Ring. And then it didn't disappoint, right? So I was excited to play it. I was excited to play it with others. I was just thrilled. And then apart from that, I was, I too was way more excited about the Game Awards while I was watching it than I was before, right? Like I was like, okay, it's another. I kind of was thinking last year, right, with all the ads and stuff. I was like, okay, the Game Awards, whatever. It's going to be 90% junk with a couple of cool, exciting announcements, and then far too little time for the actual awards show. And it was none of those things. It was the opposite of all those things. They gave plenty of time. Like it was actually felt like an awards show. The announcements they had were very good all around, and then there were a lot fewer ads. So I was like, all right, yeah, heck yeah. Part and parcel, the announcement that probably stands out as the most exciting to me was Remnant 2. I like pooped myself, and there's a video of it. Not video. It's like out there. It's out there on Twitch.
It's on Twitch. Yep.
And then finally, I also really enjoyed. I mean, Bayonetta 3 was fantastic too. I mean, I was getting really excited leading up to it, and all the surprising, all the drama with. All the drama just drew my attention to it, right? All the drama with Helena Taylor and
that was a big 2022
that was
gaming
a thing.
industry
Yeah, that was a thing that happened. Yeah,
voice actor stuff and
voice actor
unionization
stuff, so.
conversation, of course, and all that.
Yeah. So that was that was kind of a exciting, like just it got me excited for the game, and I was really excited before it came out, and again also didn't disappoint. It was fantastic. So I'm trying to think what else was really exciting. This is kind of like a gaming adjacent thing. It certainly is gaming adjacent because it's D&D, but one D&D being announced was also really exciting, right? Like the new version. It's going to come with its own like headaches, of course, of like which version do you play, and for me, it's probably going to end up being a hybrid for a long time of like I'm probably going to take the rules I like from the new D&D, but they announced a bunch of other cool stuff too. So like the kind of like merging of D&D Beyond with like is in development of a virtual tabletop of their own. So virtual tabletops are like turning D&D into a video game in a lot of ways anyways. So it's very interesting to see how technologies and game techniques that have been in video gaming for so long are now not being directly translated into tabletops, but are adding quality of life improvements to tabletops that have been sorely needed. So I think that's, I say this as someone who's brand new to D&D in the grand scheme of things. And even I'm like, gosh, these are sorely needed quality of life improvements, just to how the entire business operates. So those are the things I will say excited me. So what disappointed you about 2022?
Most of you just games. Like specific games, like the industry consolidating hasn't like disappointed me, but it has raised some flags about consternation and such. And Game Pass and Microsoft, and they're kind of dictating the market prices and maybe pricing other development studios and publishers out of business in the future. Obviously a concern. So those aren't like disappointments. Those are like more concerns of. And so I don't know if you want to know those things or not, but my disappointments, things that actually like bummed me out. I didn't put this on the list, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it on there, was Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's technical issues at launch and how just potato the graphics are and like all the bugs and the glitches. Despite all those things, the game's amazing. I mean, it made my honorable mentions. I've played the whole game all the way through, and I want to play more upon a patch. So I'm going to wait now for a patch. I just finished the story. But that was probably the biggest disappointment I didn't even put on this list because I just thought of it now. It's wild. But Saints Row, the reboot of that flopped, and I was saddened because I was looking forward to like a good quality Saints Row game that brought the IP back and maybe would inspire me to go back and play the old ones, which I haven't done, but I still want to. Gotham Knights also was a flop when there was the comparison videos of that to Batman Arkham Knight, which was a last gen PS4 game, and seeing the differences and how kind of awful it didn't perform well, and it wasn't received well. Sonic Frontiers I had high hopes for. There was a lot of hype for it. The creators were focused super on Metacritic scores and like high quality game and kind of touting this as being a AAA experience, but it wasn't. And so it's not a complete flop. It's still on my Christmas list. I want it. Hogwarts Legacy showed awful this whole entire year until like the most recent video. There was IGN had an exclusive scoop on some gameplay that finally showed like this could be a good game. So bummed about that. And then Forspoken, which had a demo announced, shadow dropped at the Game Awards, turned out to just be meh. Even playing it, just meh. And I was really pumped for that game. I had a lot of high hopes for it. It was Project Athia at some point, and it's just kind of cringe now. And big empty open world, kind of felt like cringe. Final Fantasy 15 plus, which was like, we've been there, done that. Like it's not
just like it had such promise when they first showed it off. I do like the magic combat. I think it's a really interesting system, but that demo just like the demo confirmed everything I feared about the game.
Yep.
I really want the thing is that what it proved to me is that I really want a mage game, right? Like a game where it's pure just magic and that's the mode of attack. And this looks to be that, and it just didn't live up in every other way. So cool. All right, for me, it's kind of just a lot of general stuff. Like there were a lot of disappointing games. There were a lot of games I went into this year, like sweet. There's some sweet AA titles that are come out. You know, like there were a lot of games that reminded me of like the excitement I had when I first saw Returnal, and then the confirmation of that excitement when I actually played it. Right, like. But then these were all flops, right? And the ones that like Timesia, Steel Rising, Solstice, these were all games that sort of chilled under the radar in that AA space, in that weird space between indie and AA. That like some of those are somewhere where the best breakaway hits come from, and none of them lived up. So, and I didn't play many of them, but again, I avoided playing them because of the reviews they got. So maybe they're good. Maybe I'll love them when I revisit them. But for now, I'm disappointed that they didn't show better. And I, unfortunately, again, I hate to say that there are people out there that are going to be pretentious, be like, well, reviews aren't everything. And I'm like, yeah, but when you're at my stage in life, I don't have time to waste on bad games. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to lean on what I've got available to me. So when the AI come out and can like know my taste so well that they can like suggest personalizations based on other feedback, then sure. But for now, I just got to go with what's best available. The best tools I have. Yeah. So
exactly.
The other thing that was disappointing about this game was just there was... And these two go hand in hand. My next two go hand in hand. There were so many delays. We went into this year thinking it was going to be just a slate of like Breath of the Wild 2, Starfield, just
Final Fantasy 16.
Right, Final Fantasy 16 game after game after game was supposed to come out this year.
Lord of the Rings Golem, Hogwarts Legacy.
Once again, everything got skirted. Even Forspoken was supposed to be this year. It's like everything got like pooped and pushed back into the next
You look at that
year.
as a disappointment. I'm excited. Every time a game is delayed, I'm like, thank you. Because Cyberpunk. Delay the crap out of them. Get them out of here. I don't want them.
And you and I have discussed, we only slightly disagree on this. I agree for the most part with that sentiment, but it's so easy to forget games in this time.
There's so many.
Many things come out that some games get buried, and you cannot say that every game that is delayed ends up good because some of them never come out at all.
That's true.
Development hell is a thing, and games get canceled, when they're close to the finish line, even after spending thousands of dollars. So Miyamoto's old ancient adage is a great pithy thing that you can slap on a meme, but it's not true to reality when you actually come to brass tacks. So anyways, but it's still, one can be both disappointed and excited, like, oh, I'm glad they're putting the work into it, but also I really wanted to play it. It's disappointing that they have to put more work into it because of mismanagement is more what it's disappointing that they set expectations and then can't meet those expectations. There's where the disappointment lies. And what it ultimately resulted in was a massive drought. Like, I feel like I didn't play a new game that came out this year from like June onwards. And that's where I was the most disappointed.
I would say it was like March.
Like maybe even been. It was insane. And I don't
after
think
Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, like what was like
it was pretty bad. So that was kind of where those things go hand in hand. So you have a big list, and so I'm going to force you to choose 3. What are 3 things in 2023 that you're excited about, that you're looking forward to?
I have a list of games that are just like, in general, I'm excited about next gen exclusives moving away from cross gen, and then I just started to like list those. And so Star Wars Jedi Survive, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Final Fantasy 16, which kind of has Final Fantasy 7 Remake 2 attached to it. But like, those are examples of those games. I looked them up. They're PC, PS5, Xbox Series XS only, right? So I'm excited in general in 2023 for us to finally get what these new machines can do after 2 years, given the pandemic. I understand the cross-gen, the entire platform install base of PS4 is huge and insane, and you want to grab those along, and you want to carry forward Xbox One. The architectures between PC, Xbox, PlayStation, I get. They're all the same. We want to carry that forward. We want to meet that install base. I understand. But I'm ready for, like, true next-gen games. So that's what I'm excited about. What about you?
I'm surprised you didn't say Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, right?
Of course. That's going to be awesome.
It's coming out. It's going to be amazing. That's what I'm excited about. I think to myself, that game's coming out. There's actually a fair amount of good games coming out early next, or what I hope are good games coming out early next year. Final Fantasy 16 is also on my list. Like, it looks like they had the parallel, like, ideation that Bayonetta. I can't say that they copied Bayonetta because literally that would have been impossible. Those games were developed, have been in development together in parallel for a long time. But the idea of like making summons, like actual kaijus that you control, and that's central to the story. I'm like, summons were always my favorite part of Final Fantasy growing up. A game centered around making them as awesome as possible with the technology now to make them as awesome as possible, and the concept being proven by Bayonetta. Now they're gonna have to top Bayonetta or match Bayonetta and how awesome it feels to play those summons. But I think that if anyone's capable of doing it, it's the creative business unit 3 under Yoshida, and I'm super excited about it. So Yoshi P, that's his name. Or that's what people call him.
Yoshi P.
So that is I'm excited about that. I'm obviously excited about Remnant and Breath of the Wild. I'm trying to remember, there's some other stuff that I was excited about coming next year.
I can remind you because I have a list in front of me.
It's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah, we don't have time. So we want to hear, though, what you are excited about, listeners, of coming up in 2023. What is this new year have in store for you for gaming? Are you going to spend time catching up on games you missed from previous years? Are you going to dive into only the newest and best stuff? Are you going to possibly be playing on brand new hardware that you are excited that you finally have secured? Maybe you're getting a PS5 for the first time for Christmas. And you're excited to actually finally play PS5 games or PS5 versions. We want to hear all of it. We also want to hear about your thoughts on 2022, this past year. What were your favorite games? What were the best games? What were the worst games? What happenings and events changed up gaming for you? You can share all those thoughts and more at all the places Termite's going to tell you about right now.
Please tell us your strategies on how to cope with big, huge RPGs coming out: Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Hogwarts Legacy, Final Fantasy 16, Diablo 4, and Legend of Zelda Tears for the Kingdom, all within 2 months of each other. Tell me how you're going to cope with that, because I don't know how I'm going to do it. I need your help. All over at
Tears of the Kingdom. It's fine.
That's it. It's just one game. 80-bit Podsmash. 80bitpodsmash.com. That's our landing website. It has a link tree, link to all of our social media apps. That's Twitch. That is Facebook, Instagram, Reddit. We have a Discord server. You can jump into conversations and post all of your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, and ideas. Things we would love to hear are feedback about this show, new topic ideas, things you would like to see us that we're doing, that we're not doing, whatever you want us to be doing. We would love to hear all of those things. And if you're wondering what the crap I'm even talking about and what we are and who we are a weekly video game podcast. And every single Monday at midnight, we drop a new episode about topics you care about, how they relate to video games. And you can find that audio podcast, family-friendly and for about 1 hour long, on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. And there's an RSS feed. You can throw that into any third-party app you would like. All ad-free, because we don't monetize anything. We don't make any money, and so we don't charge any money to anyone, and we don't have any sponsors. So if you want to sponsor us or hire us and talk about that business side of things, come hit us up. 80bitpodsmash@gmail.com. All right. 80bitpodsmash.
Sweet. All right. We will have a topic next week. We'll probably cover the part 2, at least as maybe like a DLC. We'll do part 2 that we didn't get to talk about, which is our podcast, 2022 for our podcast. We'll also probably have another topic, or maybe we'll just do that. I don't know. We'll find out. You just stick around, and you'll find out next week.
See you next week.